Hello, and welcome to the Stories from the View, a podcast from the Pleasant View Senior Center in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. On this podcast, we invite East Longmeadow residents to tell us stories about their lives and events. And today's guest is Rose Stella, and she is from St. Michael's. She has been working at St. Michael's for many, many years, is involved in the faith fellowship faith formation program, better known as CCD to many people, and she's also from St. Michael's Players. So Rose, welcome.
Thank you, Eric. I'm really happy to be here. Actually, this building is where I came to first grade.
Yeah.
So it's a familiar building and brings back all the old memories of the place. Just 1 year I was here for first grade only, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. A lot of people do say that. It's like, oh yeah, I went to school here. When,
yeah.
It is. It's, and the renovations were, they're very nice. Actually.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It doesn't look a thing like it did back then.
That's what I understand. Yeah. Well, anyway, so welcome to the podcast. Great to have you here.
Thanks.
So, let's start off with, a really broad question here. By the way, I should say that Mary Jenowyn Kaplan is on assignment, so she's not here this week. So at any rate, and I'm Eric, and I also have Jeff Tian here, who is on our podcast committee from the Senior Center. So that's what the group is. So thank you so much for listening. So Rose, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm actually East Longmeadow born and bred. I never really meant to be a lifer here, but I am. I really love this town. I went to the first co-op kindergarten that they had, which is sort of where the old Hayfie's funeral home was, off of Shaker Road. And I got to go to Meadowbrook School when it was first built. I was in the second grade. I went to from Center School, which is literally right next to where I now work, which is funny, kind of a full circle. But yeah, Meadowbrook opened the year I was in second grade, so our class moved over there. So that was pretty cool. And I really just feel so happy and secure in this town, and I feel so excited and delighted to be able to work for the town that gave so much for me, and St. Michael's in particular as well, because St. Michael's Church has been my home parish for my whole life. I actually made my first communion in the community center where I work, because the church was being built. The church from Summers Road was being built. So really everything about my existence today is so full circle.
Yeah. So it's amazing, the changes,
Yeah.
So you had said that it wasn't your original intention to stay here in town?
Well, I was never a person who just felt like I neither felt like I can't wait to get out of here, nor I'm going to stay forever. It just so happened, It just so happened. I actually am living back now in the house that I grew up in, and so that's beautiful. My street is full of some of the most wonderful neighbors a person could have, so I feel so lucky to live where I live, and again, like I said, to work where I work. Yeah.
So what about you had mentioned to me a couple of times that you were a little bit of a rebel in the high school years.
Yes, indeed, I was. We were a bunch of really nice kids, but we were somewhat adventurous and a little bit probably too talkative and whatever. Yes, a little naughty, if you will. In fact, the people who found out what my jobs as an adult were either said, "My God, I can't believe it," or they laughed. I remember meeting my former Spanish teacher, Miss Mealy, in the grocery store. And at that time, I had become the principal at Blessed Sacrament School. And she said, "Oh, Rose, what are you doing nowadays?" And I said, "Oh, well, I'm the principal at Blessed Sacrament School." And she just couldn't speak. She was laughing so hard. She said, "Wow, good for you. You turned it around." But I wouldn't have it any other way. We used to, my friends and I, we traveled in like a little amoeba, a million of us wandering the town and just feeling so safe. Again, I'll just say East Longmeadow itself has been like just this little warm pouch of security, I think, for many of us even, who are still friends today. But we wandered the streets, and the woman who ran the faith formation program at St. Michael's is the one who ran it when I went through. And, I was very naughty there as well. And so when I took over the job, she said, "Who would have thought that you would have ever taken over my job?" So I literally took over the job from Shirley Skiffington, who was an icon in this community. And I feel so honored also to perhaps, give the job a good name thanks to what she did for me.
So that's how you came upon the job then with
Yeah,
St.
well,
Michael's.
the funny thing is, this is kind of a funny story. I was principal at Blessed Sacrament, as I mentioned, and but my home parish was St. Michael's, so I was sitting at Mass, and Father Scahill announced that the position was going to be opening up. And honestly, as crazy as this sounds, inside of me, like, leaped. And I thought, oh my gosh, I want that job. And then I thought, oh my gosh, you're crazy. You're a principal. Why would you, And I said to God, if you don't mind me saying that here, I said, it would be like taking a demotion. And I interiorly heard, but it's exactly what you've been prepared for. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, this job takes all of my gifts and puts them to good use. Mm-hmm. Because along with running the faith formation program, Father Scahill said to me, "Rose, the community center is called a community center. Get some community in there." Mm-hmm. And so that's when I started the Players.
Yeah.
And so I get to, the two favorite things for me in my whole life are kids and God, and theater. So three. Mm-hmm. Yeah, kids, God, and theater. And I get to do all that in this position. And it really is exactly what I was prepared for in my life, kind of being a little naughty, so I know how to deal with the naughty kids, you know what I mean? In fact, I actually like them a little naughty, and so it made me a good teacher, I think, and and I love theater. I was an only child, so I watched a lot of TV. I learned how to twitch my nose and do all sorts of things that you wouldn't otherwise learn because of that. So now I run the Faith Formation Program, which is religious education classes for students in grades 1 through 11, mm-hmm. although now they've asked that we confirm our students in grade 9, so we're working currently to confirm the ones who need it, and it would be now grades 1 through 9, and then we'll develop a service program for the older high school students so that they can live out their confirmation. We run a beautiful Bible camp at St. Michael's. Yes. We just actually had registration filled up in an hour and a half, 139 children. So it's great. I get to kind of create a Catholic Disney World, I think someone called it once, and I like that.
So how many kids overall, or I guess individuals, because you also have volunteers, how many people altogether are involved in that program?
In the Bible camp program?
Yeah, well, in the
Faith Formation.
Faith Formation.
So, gosh, we have about 650 students in our Faith Formation program. We probably have 50 to 60 adults who teach and help us run the programs. And then we have our high school students who help us with that as well. So yeah, probably about 100. And then for our Bible camp, as I said, we get about 135 to 140 students every summer, and we get about 90 volunteers. Our teens run to the meetings to make sure that they can get in. It's just as quick to fill up for volunteers as it is for campers, which is such a blessing. But we don't spare anything. We once had a what do you call that? That's at the hockey game, the jumbotron. We recreated a jumbotron. So, I'm so blessed. We get volunteers who are so talented, and I think that feels like a little bit of a segue over to the players, Eric, because honestly, the St. Michael's Players has so many generously talented people who are willing to just volunteer their efforts for the good of the program. And it's crazy and beautiful. Yeah.
Well, and St. Michael's Players, it is such a wonderful thing for the community, and so many people come to our shows. Hundreds, twice a year.
Yeah.
Who come to the show. So tell me, so let's get into the players a little bit, because I have some curiosity about how all that started. I mean, you've had a love for performing arts and that type of thing for your whole life. So how did that evolve into St. Michael's Players?
Right. So when I was a teacher at Sacred Heart School in Springfield, I just sort of naturally started creating little plays with my students, and then I decided to start directing some musicals on my own, so I would do that a little bit, and I really enjoyed it. I think because in the classroom, you can certainly get to know your kids, but a small group of kids. But if you're directing a show, you get to know a lot of kids on a different level, and an exciting level where you both get to create together to form something. So yes, I had that love of theater, but when I got to St. Michael's, our numbers are down from when I took over the job. I think it's just basically demographics, but I had about 1,000 children in the program when I first started.
Oh, my.
And although East Longmeadow was my hometown, I didn't know anyone because I was older now and had not, whatever. So I took over I started the Players because I didn't want the people to know me just as the church lady,
Yeah, right, sure.
People were kind of looking at me like, who is this woman who's taken over this program? What is it going to be like? And I just wanted to get to know, because when 1,000 kids, we used to have classes at Birchland Park Middle School,
Right.
And we would have the younger kids, grades 1 through 6, on Saturday mornings, and the older kids would be on Monday nights. But it was a sea of faces that I didn't even know. And I thought, I've got to get to know some of these people on a personal level, or I'll never be able to do this. So I had been working with a gentleman, our music director, Frank Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I met him when I was in a show, and then when I was principal at Blessed Sacrament, I invited him to come, and we would have little Broadway gourmet shows,
And was this like when you were at HCC? Is that how you met Frank?
No, I was older. I was teaching at Sacred Heart.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably in the early 90s, I think. I was taking a tap dancing class at David Potter's studio in Enfield. And David said, "Rose, I need you to play a part in one of my
So
plays."
you were tap dancing?
I'm a tap dancing woman, yes. I'm a little hefty, but I have rhythm, Eric.
Would have liked to see that. Yeah, okay.
Well,
Anyway.
perhaps after this podcast.
You've already broken the glass on the table, no problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
right. So
Okay.
yeah, so Frank was a musical director for David Potter, and when I performed in David Potter's show, Frank and I, got a
I
little
see.
friendly. Frank enjoyed my comedic timing, and we got to be friendly. And so I thought, oh, I'll call Frank. We wanted to have a concert choir and just kind of get the performing arts status at Blessed Sacrament up a little bit. So Frank would come, and once a year he would play for our kids, and we would perform some Broadway shows.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was fun. And actually, he brought Kenny Butcher with him one time, surprised, and Kenny plays the drums, and that's how I met Kenny, who also does our lights and sound setup.
Right.
And so, so since the 97, I think, Frank started doing things with me at Blessed Sacrament. And so it was only natural when I took over at St. Michael's in 2004 that I would call Frank to say, hey, let's start a theater group over here and see if we can get to know some kids.
Okay, so what was the first show that
So
St. Michael's did?
Our first show is, people were not used to musicals, and I couldn't really get anybody interested right away in a musical. So our first show was a little spin-off, a spoof, if you will, on Arsenic and Old Lace called Larceny and Old Lace. So it was a straight play, a comedy, and it was in the spring of 2005.
Okay.
So I had just been there about a year, almost a year.
Yeah.
And we got some pretty decent audiences, and people started to sort of come out of the woodwork a little bit, and then we tried. So for the fall of 2005, we decided to do The Sound of Music, and we did kind of have to pull teeth to get some people to audition, but we did, and it was a start of something I think so beautiful. You know, we only do one show. Well, initially, we only did one show a year.
Right.
We did a fall musical, full-scale musical, all age. And now, as you know, we started in 2015. Adam Momborg started our children's theater in 2015, and he did straight plays, not musicals,
Right.
A couple of those. And then in 2018, when Adam left, we started what we call now the ACT program, which is all-inclusive community theater. And so we do full-scale musicals for children ages 7 through 25, children and young adults, I should say. And we have friends of all abilities, and that, I think, has been the most beautiful thing I could ever imagine. I don't know how you feel about that, Eric.
Oh,
as our lighting board
very much.
operator.
I was quite excited. My part of my life has been dedicated to working with people with disabilities. So seeing ACT get started and seeing what's happening, even now with the show that's going on now, The Lion King. Want to talk a little bit about The Lion King? Because
Yeah,
The Lion
sure.
King Jr., I guess I should
Lion
say.
King
but-
Jr., yes. Yeah, goodness gracious. We go up in 2 weeks. Woo! But, yeah, I think this will be perhaps our greatest endeavor so far because of the costumes necessary for this show. But again, that God provides because Carol Stanislaw has taken over as our costume designer director, and she has
completely outdone herself,
don't you
far
agree?
and wide.
I mean, right? The costumes alone
yeah,
are worth the price of admission and then some. She literally paper mached all of the lioness masks. And then we have Elena Ghosty, who's usually just our set artist, not just, but an amazing set artist. But she also took on building the zebras and the giraffes.
Giraffes, yeah.
And I mean, we're going to have a rising sun. I don't want to give too much away, but Tommy Butcher is our set construction manager, and he literally works as long hours as we do. He comes in the office when we get there, and sometimes we leave before him. But yeah, but it's been so beautiful, in our faith formation program, we learned of a phrase called Ubuntu, which is an African phrase for I am because we all are. And so we teach that to our children in faith formation. But when we started the Lion King and all of the languages, from Africa, et cetera, I introduced it to our cast, and they have been working. We've been living Ubuntu, I think. We have had more moms and dads helping with things. We have, you, Eric, are there countless hours to make sure that you get the lighting right, and our set crew now. So I just think to be able to put forth something for our community that I think will be so beautiful, but also selfishly to live that Ubuntu and feel the joy of that is such a blessing. Everyone should do community theater, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been involved with a number of shows there, and I'll have to say that everyone is just so excited about this show and so dedicated to the show and having it come off great. And it is going to be great. Are we sold out?
Well, we are sold out for Sunday.
We are.
For sure, completely. Okay. I have not looked back for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but as of a couple of weeks ago, we still had tickets for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday shows. But yeah, I'm sure they'll go, and once.
Yeah, I bet that this will be a sellout.
I think so.
And the kids are so great. They're every single kid is engaged and excited, and that they're so excited actually that it's. Sometimes, and Rose is always saying, "Okay, you got to focus on your part," and and all that kind of stuff. And it's just because they're so excited.
Oh, sure.
About putting this thing up.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing to watch. All the shows are amazing to watch, but there is something special, I think, about this one.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
I do too. I really do. You might find me in my office crying some days, but childbirth is painful, right? And we're going to create our child, the Lion King. So yeah, it's crazy. But it's funny, Eric, because especially with our act productions, to see the little children come to stage maybe for the first time.
Yeah.
To see the older children who are really veterans now lead the way for them.
Right, they're kind of mentoring those.
Yes, and the beautiful
younger
relationships.
kids.
Someone's sitting next to someone and talking closely, and so we all become a family. We do live that Ubuntu, and some of our people who were started off in 2018, some of our friends with different abilities, my goodness, they don't even need on stage support anymore.
They really don't. Yeah.
What they need to be doing independently. It's so beautiful to watch. We have some new friends this year. We have a gal who will have her own shadow on stage with her, and she is fantastic. The Lion King is her favorite show ever, and she's done so well. So it's just, so great.
And she's very focused.
Yes.
And she's really excited.
Yes.
And, about it. So that is just so wonderful to see that, people with differing abilities are involved in the shows now. So it's really great. I think that it makes a great contribution to the whole community to be able to be involved in these things.
Yes.
And then to be able to actually see the show, and it is going to be videotaped somehow, right?
Yes, there will be a video taken. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, that's
about
good
that.
because if it sells out, maybe not everybody will be able to see it.
Right,
so
right.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, can you tell me a little bit about how people can get tickets?
Sure. So tickets are available on our website, stmichaelsplayers.com, and it's right on the home page. You just click the buy tickets. So if they are not online savvy and would prefer to make a phone call, they can call 413-486-0760. And our ticket master, Jeff Bennett, will help them.
Very
So,
good.
but otherwise, right on the website, very easy. With one click, you can get your tickets, and you can see a picture of the seats that are available and choose your own, because the seats are assigned seats, which is great because back in the day when
Yeah,
we didn't
remember
have
when we
assigned
used to-
seats,
yeah,
people
yeah.
were tailgating practically,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
So
it was like a mob.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you don't have to do that anymore. And the house will open at 6:30. Our shows in the evening begin at 7. And our Sunday matinee is sold out, but typically our matinees are at 2.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you came in with a piece of paper with a list.
I did.
And so, was there anything that we didn't talk about, or?
You know, I really, actually, I think I pretty much talked about most of it. I did, yeah, I thought, I forgot to mention the musicals at Birchland Park School when I went to school there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I think that sort of got me started
Oh.
loving musical theater. Well, I watched musicals on television with my mom, but I got a love of live musical theater because Mr. O'Hearn, Mr. Jim O'Hearn, and Mrs. Corliss, she was the music director. He was an English teacher, and they teamed up and they did my first show that I saw at Birchland Park. I was in the 6th grade, and they did Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh, wow.
And John Garwacki was Jesus Christ Superstar, and I just was like mesmerized. And so when I got to the middle school, in the 8th grade, we put on Showboat.
Oh,
And so with middle schoolers, I mean, it was basically the 8th graders who took the lead roles, but there were some 7th graders in it too. But it was just such a great thing. And so I also got a taste of teachers running musicals and how that sort of enlivened my desire to do that as well. So I really appreciated that. It was, I guess, where I got my start.
well, and back in, when was it? Maybe it was in the late 70s or early 80s. Wasn't there another musical theater group here in
In East
town?
Longmeadow, yes, actually there was, and it may have been even earlier than that. Ernie Booth and her husband Al ran that program.
Yeah, because I remember going to a couple of shows at the high school.
Okay, yeah.
Don't remember what the shows were, to tell you
Yeah,
the truth.
I think I saw one of their shows at Birchland.
Yeah.
I think they did MAME, and I saw it.
Okay.
So yeah, I forgot about that. East Longmeadow Community Theater. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Ernie and Al Booth that ran that program. She was delightful, Ernie. She's since passed, but
Yeah.
she was really good. So since them, there was no group back.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm
right.
delighted.
You filled a void.
Yeah, I think so. And
Yeah.
and you know, I think so many people don't know a lot about musical theater. You don't realize it, you know, when you're in the thick of it, what people don't know. So I love that we can kind of educate our community a little bit too, or maybe give them a desire that they'll take going forward.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
well,
And you know, and especially for the kids, I think,
Yeah.
because the town is when you're in school, it's mostly, well, I'm probably making a sweeping generalization here, but there's a lot about the sports activities.
Yes, yeah,
in
which
the
is
schools.
awesome. Sports are fantastic.
Yeah,
and-
they are, you
Right.
know, and it's a great experience for kids. I mean, you know, both my kids went through all that, but
but if you're
it
not
seems like right. If you're not a
sports-minded-
sports,
Yeah.
you know, then you know what is there? Well, you know, the performing arts is something that is maybe almost as important as athletics.
Absolutely, because I think they both teach the same thing.
Yeah.
I think they both teach, and I value their lessons immensely, because it's kind of a triangle. It's also what faith formation is trying to teach. Though when you go to church, you don't necessarily feel the Friday night stands excitement like you do in the Friday night stands or in the audience of a show, unfortunately. But it is the same thing. We're all using our special gifts together to form something beautiful, or to win a tournament, or to, win a game or whatever. So I think the human spirit thrives in community and in working together
Absolutely.
to create something beautiful. So I just, as stressful as it can be, it is really so.
Yeah, doing 2 shows a year, two large-scale musicals. Yeah.
Yeah, is a lot, especially since I have the sacraments at this time of year and so many other plates spinning in the air. But yeah, I can't quit, Eric. I just can't quit. I love it, I do. It brings me joy.
Well, it's best to keep busy, and it's best to be part of a community.
Exactly.
Especially for folks that are older, because sometimes you lose that sense of community.
Yes.
And that's,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's just me. I'm single, so these kids are my kids, and these people are my family, and
Yeah.
it's a blessing.
Well, I really want to thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Are you feeling okay about this?
Yeah, I love it.
Rose had said that she was a little nervous about it, and I'm thinking, you're talking to Rose Stella and she's nervous about performing in front of people? Wow, what is happening here?
Well, you never know.
No, I know. So anyway, I hope that it was a good experience for you, and
It
we really
was.
appreciate hearing about some of this history here. Surrounding your life, and you're a person in town that everybody knows who Rose Stella is. So it's like, it's so wonderful to have you. So thank you so much.
Thank you
for
so
coming
much.
in.
And again, anything I can say about East Longmeadow or what it's done for me is such a great honor. Yeah. Thank you, Eric.
Yes, well,
And
thanks
thank you, Jim.
so much for
Yeah.
being here. Yeah. So that wraps up another episode of Stories from the View. We'd like to thank Rose Stella for being here today. The Stories from the View podcast is available on the LCAT 01028 channel on YouTube. And if you have a story that you'd like to share on the program, you can contact Pleasant View Senior Center Director Aaron Kobler by stopping by the Pleasant View Senior Center, or by calling Aaron at 413-525-5436, extension 1401, or send Aaron an email, aaron.kobler@eastlongmeadowma.gov. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Stories from the View.